Move to correct those minutes when we.
And the little one is,
That
okay.
has to happen?
Okay.
Yeah.
It takes a move?
Because they're not.
Senior
right.
high
What
school.
we got wrong here?
What'd you say, junior high school?
Yep.
Well, those two will be
gonna
going
vote.
off to
You just
school.
need to make a
I'd
move.
the seniors going on our way out. Raise the point.
Need to be amended to say.
Okay.
Right here.
The motion
Dave Miller,
is
chair.
Approve minutes as corrected. That's correct.
That's what you voted on.
Yeah, right here. No, right here. We just need to change this to lawn sprinklers instead of fire sprinklers.
That must have been hard, kind of.
Yeah, it was hard on her mom.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Well,
Anyway, she finished up.
Yeah, Mark.
She finished up the last 2 years of high school.
Right here.
Here in Salina?
Nope, in Madison, Kansas, south of Victoria.
I'd like to call to order the Building Advisory Board meeting, February 11th, 2020. It's 3 p.m. And I'd like to introduce, we have a new youth board member, Tiana Marion. Welcome.
Welcome.
I'd like to request approval of the minutes. Need a motion?
I move that,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, you skipped, on your call to order, you skipped 1.1 and 1.2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call from my right, please.
Ryan White,
Mike McCall.
Kevin Cool, David Miller.
Mark Frazier.
William McBride,
Rick Walters. Scott Kraus.
Chair requests staff confirmation that Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided.
Notice was properly provided.
Approval of the minutes. I get a motion.
I move we approve the minutes subject to the following revisions. David Miller is not the chair. Mark Frazier is the chair. David Miller is the vice chair under board members present. Like to get that corrected. And then on page 2, under Mark Frazier asked how many new licenses had been issued for fire sprinkler, fire alarm, fire suppression contractors. That is actually yard sprinklers, lawn sprinklers, and not fire. So I move we approve the minutes subject to these changes.
Second. Motion, everybody confirm the motion by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing items? None. Quadjudicial matters? None. Legislative matters? Review proposed amendments to Section 31-900 of the Salina Municipal Code pertaining to grass and weeds and associated materials. Give that to staff.
All right. I'd like to everybody to refer to the staff staff report on agenda item 331. A little bit of background on this. Staff has recognized that within Chapter 31 of the Salina Municipal Code, Section 31.900 weeds and appeals interact frequently, but in the application are unclear and confusing. In order to address this, staff has reviewed the code and proposed changes to the code to clarify requirements in this process. Since November 12, 2019, Building Advisory Board meeting, there have been additional edits to the draft code language that you guys looked at earlier by the city manager. At this time, staff is asking board for a recommendation regarding the proposed code amendment to propose to the city commission. You'll see attached on the following page the draft weed code that we'd had. It's in review form, so we have underlined parts of the stuff that was added after you guys saw it last. I left that in there so you could see a little bit easier what the changes were from whenever you guys had it before. Let's see, this code section has been revised in various areas, from compliance to administrative points of clarification. The more significant amendments include addition of a procedure for appeal by the city manager, or to the city manager, and clarification of residential zoning districts. No changes have been made to the appeal section of the code. Additionally, staff will be adding the city manager exception and Chapter 31 appeals process to our Llama software system. This provides numerous advantages, including the ability for applicants to apply online through our Llama web portal. Once in Llama, the city manager exception and Chapter 31 appeal decision will be tied to the property address. This is advantageous from a research and enforcement point of view. No longer will a decision be limited to one folder in one department, rather it is tied to an address and available for all city staff working in Llama. So if we want to go over the draft document real quick, we've kind of gone over this before. I can kind of give a little bit of a summary here. In section, I guess it'd be A1, we changed in zoning districts R1, R2, R2.5, and R, and we changed that to duplexes, townhomes, and single-family residences. We want to be a little bit more clear about what we were talking about when they say beyond the first 15 feet of right-of-way nearest the premises, that area that needs to be mowed, or B, the area between the curb line and edge of a street or edge of an oversized paved sidewalk less than 10 feet in width. Those are areas that a private residence owner doesn't have to maintain. In section 2 down there, undeveloped areas within the city that are legally used and for agricultural purposes and feed or seed crops. In such case, the first 15 feet of the right-of-way nearest and abutting arterial collector street and the first 15 feet of the property line of an abutting property that is either occupied or under separate ownership need to be maintained in accordance with section A, which talks about the 8-inch height and that business. Number 3 there, undisturbed areas of grassland ecosystems or forest ecosystems greater than 2,000 square feet in area, maintain less than 8 inches in height, a minimum of 15 feet back from maintained areas on an abutting property under separate ownership. These are edits that the city manager suggested that we add, so we did that for you guys' approval. Down in number 6, we added just a couple extra words there for clarification: geographical barriers and open ditches. With that, I think I also had added the things that you guys had talked about for corrections the last time we reviewed this as well. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to look at this and if you have any suggestions or corrections to what we have done here. Otherwise, Building Advisory Board action. Number 1, the Building Advisory Board could recommend the approval to the City Commission for the proposed amendment to Chapter 31, Section 31-900 to the Salina Municipal Code as presented. The Building Advisory Board could recommend for approval to the City Commission with proposed amendments to Chapter 31 to the Salina Municipal Code with any additions, deletions, or modifications to text the board to the text as the board deems appropriate. Or you can recommend the City Commission maintain status quo. So with that, I'll leave it to the board and to see if you guys have any edits, or we'd entertain a motion. Staff supports and recommends option number 1.
Sean, I have a question.
Yes.
If you go to part 6D, the back page of your draft, I think
Yes.
the language in there is a little confusing. It says the city manager shall render within 14 days and notice of decision provided to the applicant within 10 business days. So one could interpret that to read that you have to notify the applicant before you decide.
Let's see.
Or the city manager would have to notify the applicant. It's confusing language.
Let's see. A decision by the city manager shall be rendered within 14 business days, and notice of the decision provided to the applicant within 10 business days.
After the decision is made. So, I mean, I just think the
So
language
just
is a little bit.
maybe add something in there, within 10 business days after his decision is made, or his or her.
Somewhere it needs
Yeah.
to say after the decision. I know it says the decision, but
Right.
it seems a little confusing there.
Okay. It's always good to have a second set of eyes on these things, because we read it 10,000 times, and we appreciate y'all's input. Are there any other edits and questions that you guys have?
How is the city manager going to notify? Is there a process already in place?
They would, if someone has to appeal in writing, in order, and I think I showed you those forms last time we were here about the appeal
Right.
process and all that business, they would get a written response back
Okay.
after, once it's gone through the channels, if it's going to come back to the board here, or if they're, then they can appeal the city manager's decision, or so on and so forth. But we have it kind of looks like a flow chart thing that
Right.
tells an applicant all the way through the process what to expect, when to get response back, when to apply where, so on and so forth.
So I'm assuming here, but the decision will be provided in writing?
Yes.
To the respondent?
Yes. We don't have an actual form for that, but yes, they would get a response in writing.
So then you have to determine is it going to be postmarked by that date? Is it going to be somehow communicate? I just think that needs to be clarified in Part D somehow, that your decision is going to be made within 14 days and that you will notify the appellant in writing or by this communication format, whatever that is, whether it's posted on a website, whether it's, I doubt it would be in that
wouldn't
case,
be.
but
Yeah, they'd be notified in writing, but we can make it clear about exactly what
Okay.
that 10 business days means. It would be postmarked by that date, or we can't guarantee they would have it by that date if it's being
right,
mailed
that's
to
what
them,
I'm
but
saying.
yeah.
You don't know when it's going to be delivered, but you
Right.
should know when it needs to be somehow postmarked. Or, and then you would have to have some kind of proof, I would think, at that point of postmark. So you're either going to have a return receipt or somehow your own.
And many of the mailings we do are certified mail.
Okay.
I don't know if that would be the case in this one, or if we'd go by postmark or whatever, but we'll definitely address that here.
That's all the comments I have.
Are these changes being made because of the hearing we had on the mowing issue?
They're partially. It was, we kind of knew that the grass code was a little bit confusing before that, and that just kind of magnified it, that it wasn't entirely clear about what the rules were and how they'd be enforced. And in addition to the appeal process, it was a little bit shaky too, so we're just trying to kind of firm all this up so it's a little more clear for everyone, you guys, the people that may have a appeal, and also staff, to make it, clear, easy steps for everybody to follow. Whenever we were drafting this code, we looked at several other neighboring cities and what they had and stuff like that. But Salina does have some unique aspects to our grass code about things that have been added in over time that we thought needed to stay, which was a couple of the items that the city manager wanted back in there. But we did model it off of some other places too, a little bit, and just kind of morphed it into what we thought worked best for everyone. So I guess with those amendments that Mr. Nichols has brought forward, if you want to approve it with those amendments, you can motion option 2, or you can motion option 3, that we don't do anything at all. So we'd want to leave option 1 off if you want to go with the amendments that Mr. Nichols suggested.
So Sean, I'm just to clarify for me, is it, the appellate makes an appeal to the city manager? Is that correct?
Yes.
That, for instance, an example, the mowing or the taking care of that would be burdensome or whatever, for whatever those reasons, it falls into those categories?
Mr. Walters, can you speak?
That would fall into those categories.
Right.
Then, upon the ruling, he's notified within
Right.
10 business days.
Right.
Then what is the recourse of the citizen if he still disagrees? Does he then appeal to this board? Is that
That's
how
correct.
that still works?
That's what item E talks about. The decision of the city manager may be appealed following the appeal process outlined in this chapter, which isn't in this.
It's not
What
in here.
wasn't given you here because we didn't make any changes to that.
Correct. So that still
Yes,
is
it would
the
still come back to
process.
this board.
Okay.
So-
So this just streamlines the appeal process directly to the city manager and how that's going to be resolved.
Right.
The form, okay.
Yeah.
Everything else remains the same on that.
That's correct.
process. Thank you.
So I'd make a motion that we approve the recommendation with amendments.
I would second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Discussion. After the second, you have to call discussion.
Discussion, please.
I think you have to actually read item 2 whenever you make a motion. So it's,
For the sake of,
or the one you choose.
Clarification.
I'm not going to say you have to pick item 2, but.
I make the motion that the Building Advisory Board recommend approval to the City Commission proposed amendments to Chapter 31, Article 8, Section 31900 of the Salina Municipal Code with the addition of the comments earlier on the notification to the appellant. That's my motion.
I would second.
Call for discussion on it for the question.
Right. Discussion for the motion of the minutes by the board. No discussion. We'll all vote by signifying aye to approve.
Aye.
Were there any opposed?
Anybody opposed to the motion? Signify by saying aye. Administrative items.
There are no administrative items to discuss at this time.
Preliminary discussion items?
There are no preliminary discussion items at this time.
Unfinished or other business?
We can go look at the staff report on agenda item 4.1. These are associated forms that go with this code that you guys had just looked at with the Chapter 31 processes. Related to the Chapter 31 proposed code amendment are forms and documents that speak to the associated processes. These documents have been prepared to help refine the processes, enhance the transparency, and ensure easier use for the applicant, the building advisory board, and staff. These documents include the appeal hearing order of business. This revised order of business is a document for the BAB to follow when holding a hearing. That's attachment B. Regarding these particular steps within the order of business, staff's proposed changes are minor to attempt to make the process more efficient while maintaining an opportunity for all sides to present their case. The second one we were going to look at is the city manager determination form. Both of these are ones that you guys looked at the previous meeting, but there was some very minor edits on here. I didn't put track changes on this one. The edits were pretty minor. I think there were a couple more in item C. In item B in the order of business, I think there was just a few minor grammatical or punctuation things, and just to kind of make it a little bit easier to flow there. Those were pretty minor in nature. But the city manager determination form, like we discussed earlier, is used when appealing to the city manager under Section 31900. Section 31900B2 requires a city manager determination on whether a section of land is either too burdensome for a citizen to maintain, or if a normally exempt piece of land would be included in a maintenance responsibilities of the property owner or property owner adjacent to the land in question. The form attachment C would give applicants and staff a clear document to work from. Additionally, the document makes review by the city manager more comprehensive and efficient, given the dates and deadlines and stuff that he would be under. And if you look on the top of that city manager determination form, it has submitted by, date prepared, date of hearing, city manager decision. We can write those dates in there so that everyone's clear on what deadlines are and expectations of the applicant are. This document mirrors the code changes being proposed to Chapter 31 to better address the city manager determination process. Board action on these, the appeal hearing order of business and the city manager determination form are for board information only, and you guys don't need to vote on to approve these or not. We just wanted to show you these things so that everybody was clear on the forms that you will be using if there is another appeal. The chair will kind of read down this order of business. That's how the meeting's going to flow. And they'll also be looking at this form that the city manager will look at to make his determination. The applicant will fill this form out. Anyway, that's what you guys will be making your decision on if they appeal the city manager's decision on this. So if you guys have any questions about this, I'd be happy to answer them. If you have any things that you think might make it even easier, edits or anything like that, we'd be happy to consider those as well. But this is, like I said, just informational only, and be happy to open to discussion if you have any.
This is a legal court type procedure.
Yes, quasi-judicial. Yes.
You have anything else, Sean?
Not on this, no.
Public forum? Looks like we have none. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
There was one other thing. Whenever in the unfinished business portion, at the last meeting, you did make an edit as far as you had questions about the lawn sprinkler systems and not the irrigation, or not the fire sprinkler licenses. Just for you guys' information, you guys did look at, for a proposal to the city commission or recommendation to the city commission, code changes about fire suppression contractors, things like that. There have been several new licenses issued for that as well. We did do a little bit of research on that. There's been fire suppression contractors, have been 7 new ones. Fire sprinkler, there has been 9, and fire alarm, there's been 10. And so, all total, there's been 26 new license applications because of that going through. But at the next meeting, I will bring you back some information on the lawn sprinkler question that you guys did have. But I thought maybe that information was interesting to you guys since you did go through that code amendment as well. But
Is there a regular testing that these guys are taking for the fire sprinklers?
yes, yes. It's not ICC, it's, what's it called, the one they take for fire sprinklers?
Elementary.
No, it's the,
Oh, fire sprinkler, NICET?
yeah, the NICET 2 or 3, depending on which one they're, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, there's 4 different NICET tests that those guys take for that, but yes, testing is required.
If I may, under other business, I've got one question. Did everybody get their corrected certificates for continuing education by way of email? Y'all should have received that. If you didn't, come see me. Okay, we're good.
Get a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion for adjournment. Second.
Everyone signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Tiana, for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the future.
Yes, thank you for being here.
I think that's the first one.